Welcome everyone to the DATAMITE webinar related to data monetization, and welcoming Udo Bub from 1001 Lakes, and the presentation with contributions from Rob and Eduardo from FEAR and UCC. So today the topic that we will discuss is about data monetization and organizational maturity and strategies for implementation. So the word to you, Udo. Good luck.
Thank you, Antonis. And needless to say now, because it has been mentioned, the webinar takes place in the context of the DATAMITE EU project. And many of you have probably participated already to previous webinars, namely the webinar 1 week ago, which is in a direct context to the current one. 1 week ago, the colleagues Rob Schneider and Eduardo Wiemeister have presented data monetization concepts that I will refer to as well. Although my focus is, as mentioned in the title, on organizational maturities and the strategies for implementation, but with cross-references to my colleagues who work in the same task, actually, under my lead. That's the task 4.3. Of the project DATAMITE. The DATAMITE project consists of 26 organizations from 11 countries, and we are, needless to say, one team. Here, I will not go through those organizations. I will just offer this glimpse as some key organizations. If you see my pointer, I'm from 1001 Lakes, and the people I mentioned are from FEAR in Aachen and from UCC in Ireland. And the mission of DATAMITE is to deliver a modular open source and multi-domain framework to improve data monetization, data interoperability, data trading, and data exchange in the form of software, training, and business materials for European companies, empowering them to become new relevant players in the data economy. And here we are focusing on the aspect of business materials of this mission statement. And as a major deliverable of our task, we will present a so-called blueprint for data monetization that comes along with a blueprint workflow. What does it mean? This blueprint consists of 3 modules. So one is the maturity model. I will explain this in detail here. Then the data valuation model. I will quickly offer a glimpse to it. However, it has been presented at length in the webinar 1 week ago. So if you're very interested in details, I encourage you to watch the recording after our current webinar to go into much more details, because naturally, I cannot go into the same details as has been achieved 1 week ago when this was a focus topic. And then I will talk about the strategy canvas, how to operationalize the strategies that I will present here as well. And the canvas is a means of implementing a strategy once chosen, and I will tell you in more detail what it is all about. So the focus of today is on the maturity model and on the strategy canvas, with a glimpse on the valuation model, which was introduced already 1 week ago by Eduardo. So first, on the data monetization maturity model, DMMM. As you can hear, it's very difficult to pronounce, so DMMM is easier. So we talk about data monetization. Most of the things that I've said have already been published in this publication here. You don't have to click on it during the meeting, but if you're interested in persistent sticky know-how in a written matter, then please refer to the publication of ours that is available under this link. Now about maturity models. Probably some of you have heard of maturity models. If not, doesn't matter. You will learn the basics also in this webinar. But let me first describe why, what purposes maturity model usually has, that has nothing to do with data monetization. It's about general maturity model, could be anyone. So there's a descriptive purpose, and that is to assess in organizations as is maturity. So to describe what the current status is of an organization. So descriptive. But it has also a prescriptive purpose, which defines actually how to be in the future. It's a guidance on how to determine a desirable to be maturity. So an as-is assessment, but at the same time, you can identify the deficits from the as-is maturity and describe, well, prescribe a desirable future maturity where you want to be. And this is the main purpose of the DMMM that I present today. But I want to point also to a comparative purpose, which can be achieved maybe later when data monetization is much more common in many organizations. Then you can compare how your own organization is doing compared to other organizations, maybe your competitors. Then you can compare your maturity assessment with a number that has been maybe published, or a consulting company is running a benchmark through several organizations. And then you can compare where you are with respect to the others. But usually for this, you need a high empirical basis. I want to describe this as having many assessments in place, 50 or 100, to be able to normalize the stages very well, so that you can really compare in a very detailed manner. And because this is the first maturity model for data monetization, actually, we don't have this empirical basis yet, but it will come, needless to say that. Okay, so what does a maturity model look like? So I would say there's a mother of maturity models. That's the capability maturity model integration from the Carnegie Mellon University Software Engineering Institute. And many maturity models, also ours, refer to some characteristics of this mother of all maturity models. So usually you have several levels that can be achieved. Very often it's 5. Also in our model, we chose 5 as a level. And then you achieve a certain level in your assessment. And that's the outcome of this maturity model assessment. If you are an initial model level, managed level, defined level, quantitatively managed level, for example, or an optimizing level. The more your company is mature, the higher you are on these levels. And the capability maturity model was meant for software engineering, actually. And it was meant to be a means to overcome the software engineering crisis, when lots of spaghetti code was built, and the expression of software engineering was not even coined yet. And one of the outcomes of this maturity model is also the emergence of software engineering as a discipline. But that's not our focus today. But we are inspired by this 5 levels and a criteria catalog. So this is also another important thing. So criteria catalog that you go through with questions, and depending on how those questions are answered, the level that you are in can be determined. And with this, let's go now into our current task, the data monetization model. A model. Well, here you see this criteria catalog. So usually you have criteria here. You can cluster them into several capability areas. We call them criteria, and those capability areas dimensions, but they can also be named practice and capability area. We will use the term criterion and dimension, but you will see this intuitively in the next slides, actually. But what I want to say, there are 2 two kinds of capability maturity models, staged or continuous models. And we will have a continuous model, but this is very important to understand also the characteristics of our model. A staged model means that you have a criterion or a practice that is very exact. And this, if you fulfill this, then you're automatically in maturity 2, for example. And you have another criterion that is typical for level 3. And if you fulfill this, then you are on level 3 for this capability area here. And so on. However, here, in a continuous model, you have a criterion, and you can ask a value between 1 and 5. And, well, you are asked, and you can answer with a value of between 1 and 5. Very important. So for every question you don't have an answer yes or no, but you have an answer 1 to 5, where 1 does not apply at all, and 5 applies fully. It's the so-called Likert scale. You know, there's also a questionnaires that are being sent to you. It's quite common. So we don't check with every question, does this apply, yes or no, but we answer in a Likert scale between 1 and 5. A continuous model. So our data monetization maturity model is a continuous model. It has been bottom-up developed. So we defined the levels and stages only after the criteria catalog was done. It's built on literature. It's founded on literature. So we made an extensive literature analysis with existing models. And on top of this, we refined it with expert interviews that we have conducted through our project. So the seed model came from literature and existing models, and we enhanced this with insights from our projects and lots of workshops. And the dimensions are derived from the St. Gallen House of Digital Business, which is a well-known model from the St. Gallen University that has been published a lot. One of the seed models that gives the structure is from St. Gallen University. You will see this also in the next slide, what I actually mean with this. Then all dimensions are equally weighted for the calculation of a final maturity level, and the grading of criteria is on a Likert scale. I've just mentioned this. Okay. Now, here on the left side, you see the St. Gallen House of Digital Business, which has been published here in a textbook. And many maturity models start actually with these dimensions. However, not all of those dimensions are relevant for data monetization. So we left some of them out, and some criteria needed to be refined for data monetization. For example, strategy in the St. Gallen House of Digital Business means business strategy of the whole company. That's not important for us, so we converted this into data strategy. Only the data strategy is important here in our view. Then culture and expertise, it's more or less the same. We call it culture and skills. Transformation management is for the digital transformation. It's not the focus here for the data monetization, although some aspects are relevant, but they are put into this organizational dimension here. So I don't go through all of this because we don't want to rework the workshops that we've conducted here in a webinar and steal our time. The outcome of this is those 7 dimensions: a customer view on data, a data strategy view on data, culture and skills, processes, IT, organization, and data business product of your organization if you want to assess your organization. Then for all of these dimensions here, we came to a criteria catalog. And as I mentioned to you, we had a seed model that was grounded in literature. And then we have refined this to a great deal in workshops that have been conducted with partner companies of our consortium, and also with a project core team that has taken care of some refinements that are not possible to be done in a very big team. So we had an expert core team to refine and hone results from bigger workshops. So we had one workshop, for example, that had 80 participants and some other 50 participants. And finally, the core team refined the results in an iterative manner. And here you see an example. So here we have one dimension, that's the dimension customer. And we have a criteria, for example, data monetization opportunities are continuously observed and systematically monitored in the organization that is to be analyzed. And then the answer can be between 1 and 5. So if they're not continuously observed and systematically monitored, but there are some elements of it, then maybe the result could be 2 or 3. If it is not done at all, then the result is 1. And only if this fully applies, 5 will be the answer. And so we have several, we have come to a criteria catalog that is quite extensive. I will give you a picture of it also in this presentation, a full picture of it. But let's not go through all of the criteria because it will be very many. But you understood the concept. And how this assessment is done is usually with an Excel sheet. So a person like me goes to a company and interviews usually managers, but ideally not only managers, but also people that participate to a 360 degrees view of the organization. So middle management, but also regular employees and also top management, and then also some middle managers on the side, left and right of the organization that is being assessed, to come to a complete picture of it. And of course, if you interview more people than just one, you can look at the differences between the answers, and then you can also derive some insights when there are different observations, for example, for company cultures and all of this. Then you dig a little bit deeper when you see those differences. And then at the end of it, you come to a result. Here's an example. And we have dimensioned our model in a way that 3.5, so it goes between 1 and 5. So so here you see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And we dimension it that at the level of 3.5, you reach the threshold where you can meaningfully engage in data monetization. And if you have deficits, then, well, this is not possible, but you can work on those deficits. In this example, which you will see later, it's a real example from a real interview. Here you can see that, for example, some things in the data strategy still need to be formulated. You can see from the criteria catalog actually where your deficits were, so you can work on this. You can start projects, for example, here in the areas of data strategy. This is a generic project portfolio where I usually classify projects with urgency over benefit. And for example, in data strategy, there are some things that you can identify. This is generic, of course, but a typical project would be like, I don't know, revise current data strategy from a version 1.0 to 2.0, or you just add a specific aspect of a data strategy, and then you put this as a project and prioritize it here. Typically, the more urgent ones and the one with a higher benefit, I mean, data strategy has a long-term benefit, of course, and a communicational benefit, but sometimes there are real deficits, immediate deficits. For example, the data business products are not yet in place, and these are typical ones that have to be tackled with higher priority. Very often a data product has not been defined. Here, data product in the meaning of data business product. So there's a coined expression, data product, which comes from the data mesh definition, which is not necessarily a commercial product, but it's a wrapping of a data product like a product. But the business case behind that is not a requirement to come to a data product. But here our questions go to data business product. And here usually deficits. So people nowadays, big organizations are able to deliver the first data products, but not as a business product that can be really monetized. And usually there are deficits here. You will see this later on. Interestingly, lots of IT is already quite high standard. You will see this also. I will go through several examples, real examples, and you will see that the biggest deficits are probably in the data business product domain, and interestingly, not so much in the IT domain. So this is the overall criteria catalog, 61 criteria. Don't try to read them all now because the picture will disappear in a few seconds. But if you use the publication that I mentioned beforehand, you will be able to retrieve all of these criteria. Also, this slide set here will be made available to you, and then you can also read them from this slide set, although I would recommend to use the publication. Now, what are the 5 maturity models that we have done? The expressions are not exactly the same as in the capability maturity model, but have a related meaning. So many companies could be even able to monetize data, but usually this, very often this happens in an ad hoc manner. So it's not a systematic approach to data monetization. So it's a one-timer. And if the driving people leave, then the know-how is gone from the whole organization. So you can even achieve a first example of data monetization, but that doesn't mean that your organization is mature. That means that some of your employees have been leaders here, but not your organization. And if you're able to do this systematically, then you are reactive. You have situational response to the market developments, but probably are not a driver. You are very reactive, but it might make sense to be also on this level. Then you can come to a defined level where systematic data sharing is possible. So to monetize data, you share the data, but this happens now very often in data spaces, but monetization is very limited still. And so people who are very good at data sharing already have a defined stage. And then next one would be a controlled one where regular monetization activities are standard. So there are processes in place. You have data product managers who take care of this, like you have them for existing product from the material world. And if you have mirrored these capacities also to the digital data area, then you are in a control state. And optimized is usually a state where you optimize your existing processes to improve yourself. Those are usually the market leaders, the thought leaders. They optimize themselves and make up the future by their own action. I should mention that, of course, it's very costly to be on this level. And here, if you do it, you really have to have enough return on investment from data to be able to be here. For many organizations, it's completely fine to be on the level 2 or level 3. And we never recommend to go to 5, try to go to 5 if there's no big reason to do so. So it depends a bit on the working mode of the whole company, where you are. So part of a consulting project that could be conducted based on DATAMITE insights will be also to discuss where is it useful to be actually. So and very often it's very much sufficient to be on 2 to start, to be a Me Too operator here, but defined, for example, as a perfect level to monetize data. Well, perfectly fine to start monetization data, because I said the level is between 3 and 4. It's 3.5 actually. So here is actually the threshold, because you're still limited in monetization. You know how to share, but maybe the business models are not so clear yet. Here is the same view of those levels, but in a very detailed explanation. What are the characteristics for this level? I will refrain from reading all of this to you. But well, we could quickly go through one, maybe the defined level. So, for example, the organizational culture and HR positioning target data engineering, data analytics, and data sharing, but typically not explicitly data monetization. Customer insights are systematically assessed, including data usage. Technical data products and cross-organizational data sharing are mastered, but data business products might have been tried as pilots, but not have been systematically placed to the market. A full data strategy has been developed that includes cross-organizational data sharing and mentions data monetization. Mentions, but does not fully embrace it yet. Data engineering for data sharing and relevant processes are already systematically in place, typically an IT department feature, typically with technical data products. However, no regular activity to realize monetization with data, yet implemented with rating and billing of data business products, not yet realized. The organization is agile and has a data governance in place. The processes are fully controlled and regulatory aspects of data consciously addressed, but not under the aspect of monetization. And then the threshold is here, actually, and then you can see that the formulation is a bit more, level 4 is more embracing monetization already. But let's not go through all of these stages because we don't have the time, but this gives you an idea actually how this works. So again, you can assess your organization by scoring each criterion in the Likert scale. Typically, it's done with an expert who's running those interviews, who also can give a help actually with the answer to a specific question. Should typically be 3 or 4. What are the characteristics? So as a facilitator, usually somebody conducts this, but you can do it on your own as well. Then we calculate the scores per dimension and visualize them in a Chider spot. We derive concrete improvement actions by analyzing and low scoring criteria in each dimension, and we involve stakeholders from various departments and levels to complete the organizational view. That's the 360-degree view. And we use those 5 maturity levels as the orientation to set clear and realistic development goals. Well, you can have an Excel tool at the end of our project, downloadable, and this will calculate immediately, depending on your answers, the maturity, and you can use the same Excel to collect input from multiple people, and then you get the summary with the spider chart that I've just shown to you. So let's go through several companies, for example, here we had an interview with an IT services company. The interview was 9th of December 2024, actually, so I should correct this. It's the wrong day and year, actually, so December last year. And we could see that, well, the company was doing quite well, on cultures and skills. Well, IT services companies, they usually embrace data as a core topic very rapidly. So processes, data strategy, culture and skills are in place. Customer view not complete, so complete picture what the customer needs for data products. Then the data business product is not yet well enough elaborated, and the organization not fully ready, but the IT department has actually overperformed already. So all of this is in place, which is not trivial, actually. You have to have billing capabilities in place. You have to have well, most of the processes in place when your IT is ready, and it's not a bad assessment here, actually. Here we come to a second one. It's a telecommunications operator. This was here you see it more clearly, that the processes are not yet fully established, and probably your own culture and skills. Yeah, it's already quite good, but maybe some features like a data product manager are not there yet. IT department also there quite good. Organizations also good. Data business product, here we see the biggest deficit, and that's the big deficit actually of the whole world, actually. So data monetization is still waiting for a breakthrough, and those data business products are the main nut to crack. Here we have another interviewee. It's a utility. It's an energy distribution networks operator. Actually, here Excel made a different dimensioning because no answer was above 3.5. So this is still 3.5. This organization, which is an incumbent organization, was underperforming in all levels. Maybe IT going very close to 3.5, but data business products and customer view very much below what you need for data monetization. But we could identify action that are necessary to come to a higher level. To compare this, the next one is also a utility as well, an energy distribution network operator, who was better prepared actually. So it's the same, it's a different country, but you can see that they have made lots of ideas about the customer view for data monetized products. Strategies in place, culture and skills. The DNO has been well put culturally there to meet data monetization. Also, the processes for billing are in place, not only billing but also for others. But still, the business case for the right product is missing. I will come to this in the second part quickly to ways to overcome this by applying our business strategies for data products. This is already a small cliffhanger to what I will mention also. Actually, we have some tools actually how to bridge this. Here we have a high performance computing center from one specific country, and they are doing quite well. You can see this is probably our best assessment. How can this be? Here I should mention that HPCs, so high performance computing centers, are usually not operating under strict commercial laws. They are usually basic funded by public money, and usually have a very good capable IT workforce on board with lots of very well trained engineers, and so they are. It's easier for HPCs actually to perform high in most of those domains. Although customer view and data business product is not so much common there usually, but this one has achieved to have a very good customer view. Well, usually those HPCs are very much trained in offering data products to customers, I must say, but data business products is not so clear because they are not even allowed to charge with a margin on data business products. But here we see that also know-how has been made available here, and maybe for a spin-off case, this can be leveraged. We have another HPC that we have interviewed, a different country. Here, not so much work was done on data business products, but on the IT side and elsewhere also quite high maturity was achieved. So these have been 6 examples, and I'll leave it like this. You can see that there's one organization that is probably above the threshold of 3.5, that it should be on every dimension. And most of the organizations are not there yet. But when you are on level 3, you can identify easily projects mainly on the data business case side and data business product side, how to package this really as a product to come to a higher level. So quite encouraging here. And then when the maturity is not so high, actually, in this case, you can use this benchmark, although I said it's to be taken with a grain of salt at this stage of empirical insights. You can compare to another company in a similar domain that is performing better and see and learn from them actually. This maturity model has been published now also, as you know, and we have also received an excellent innovation award and by the European Commission on its innovation radar, and it will be disseminated soon also through the DSSC, Data Spaces Support Center, and partner organizations like 1001 Lakes will also be able to use it in several client approaches. And now, also in the interest of time, I will quickly skim the second module more or less as a, let's say, as a teaser. what we have developed in DATAMITE is also a data valuation model. And I should mention that this is not an easy task because nobody has a good valuation model. A valuation model means that you look at a set of data and you come up with a value that quantifies actually how valuable this is. Also, we compare it to another data set and you define which one is more valuable. So it's not very easy to quantify this. And of course, there are many aspects like market value and other aspects like costs in generating it. So a whole plethora of influences that make it not so easy to make such a valuation. But we have accomplished to write a first model here, develop it. And this process has been described in the webinar on the 2nd of October by Eduardo. And it has 3 steps. So this builds on a previous task. That's the analytic network processes tool that defines that's a real tool that defines important KPIs for your own data monetization project based on question and answers based on a balanced scorecard grading scheme. And the best thing is that you go through this first on this ANP tool, and which is available online, and then enter into this into second and third step to come to evaluation of your data set. If you are not using this tool, then there's a shortcut. It's a fallback pathway that, as you will see on the next slide, that you can shortcut this ANP tool assessment with answering to some questions. Then step 2, the relevant metrics for your data set that have been determined in step 1 are now normalized. Well, this is a necessary processing step to come to a normalized value also. And then a final value is calculated. So, and please don't try to read all of those details. Rather, watch the video from the last webinar, or well, use this slide still, but in an offline mode. It will take too long to go through all of these steps. But in this step 1, be it the ANP tool or the fallback plan, you answer several questions. Well, is your data GDPR sensitive? Is this distributed? Is this direct or indirect monetization, etc., etc.? Depending on the answers, you can you get several recommendations how to well, what to consider in your normalization step that is coming up here. So several more questions are being answered, and based on this, several dimensions like age, timeliness, accuracy of your data, variety of your data, volume of your data, completeness of your data, compliance cost of your data, return of investment and processing cost, all of this of your data are being considered. Not all of these have to be considered based on questions that are asked here. And then there's a process of normalizing this data. And once this is normalized, you go to step 3. And here you see some formula. Maybe this should give you an idea actually how complex this is. And if you just have a look at your data without looking at a certain use case, but just at your data, then the data quality can be calculated with a value. And the formula is here. Again, I will not go through the details. If you can add utility of a certain use case to your data, then the use case usually has influence on the value. And then you can go through a more refined step using utility. And then if you have not only one use case, but a whole set of use cases, then you can calculate even a more refined model. But this is about our well, deliverable, this valuation model. And And we have a third deliverable in our blueprint process that I've described. It's data strategies and data monetization canvas. And if you have been to the previous webinar, you have already seen these strategies that have been identified in DATAMITE. And we also build on this. We have actually developed this together. Again, we have come up with this number of strategies based on, well, clustered actually according to the question, is it internal data of an organization that is used for monetization, or is it external data? And then if it's external data monetization, that means you go to a third party and sell it. Then there are indirect effects that you can have. There are direct effects, and then there are non-monetary effects. And well, these individual strategies have been also presented by Rob Schneider in the last webinar with examples. So maybe you're familiar with it already. And so I don't have to explain all of them together, although we will revisit all of them when we come to the canvas, actually. So this is the core of my aspect to those strategy is the usage of the canvas. And what we have also as a deliverable is pre-formulated canvases for all of these strategies. This is the canvas. Well, part of our team have been developing this with HowDMR. That's a German association of machinery and, well, of machinery construction companies. And there a canvas has been developed that we have adopted to data services and data offerings. So the original canvas is not only for data monetization, but for general new offerings in the mechanical engineering domain. And we have adjusted this to data business. And here is the canvas in more detail. Actually, if you want to have a source of the original canvas, it's here, VDMR, VDMA. And Daniela Greven, who has been an author of the original canvas, has also contributed to DATAMITE. She was a DATAMITE member, now in maternal leave. And this is why this has been introduced and adopted also to DATAMITE. So this canvas is sorted into qualitative statements and quantitative statements. And you describe a business case here. Well, I should say that I assume that most of you have already worked with canvases. The most famous one is the business modeling canvas by Osterwalder, and many other canvases have popped up later on. Well, in brief, a canvas is like a wallpaper that you can use with Post-its on a quite high-level way of bringing consensus with several experts about a whole business model, in our case, a data monetization model. So here you describe a business case with several Post-its, a short but exact description of the business idea. If already possible, the concrete details of the offering and product can be described here. Then value chain and risk transfer has to be described in this element here. So especially you have to describe what parts of the value creation will change and for whom when you introduce data business. Especially when you have a strategy that is building on top of existing products. You know, several strategies are built on hybrid offerings where you have a physical product and then you add data business on top of it. Not all of the strategies, but many of them. So of course, then the value chain changes and you have to describe what changes here. Then you can check internally what are the indirect internal benefits, what indirect value added that results for you your own company as the offering party or organization. Of course, many things change also internally. And then for the external perspective, you can describe the customer benefit here. Very often in product speak, emotional benefit is necessary. Then a platform ecosystem is necessary, especially when you deal with data spaces, which would be a platform for a thing like this. Collection of all open question aspects of the platform economy here. For example, platforms, partners, and market participants should be mentioned here. The to-be platform offering, or the participation in existing platform. Well, the pronunciation correct would be to be a platform offering party oneself, or to participate in a platform, in a different platform. That's the question to be answered here. And what added value through a platform can be described. Then we have some quantitative assessments. What KPIs can I measure and track for the business case? What skills and resources do I need for this? The description of the necessary skills and resources to develop the business idea. What are the costs actually that are caused by skills and resources? What cost aspects do exist? Then quantify the financial customer benefit. How can the benefit of the solution be calculated for the customer? It's always important when you offer a new product, you have to tell the customer actually what is the benefit, what's in for him actually. And then also a pricing model, not easy for data, but the data evaluation model that we had just before will be an indicator how to come to a pricing. Let me mention here that the evaluation model comes up with a scalar, with a number for a value. And this is comparable to other data sets, but it's not yet a euro price tag, because the euro price tag will be defined by the market. And we cannot foresee with a generic data valuation model what the market is doing. Maybe this year a certain type of data is scarcer than next year and will be more expensive than next year, or vice versa. And this is market information that the model cannot predict. And only then you can define a euro price tag in a currency. But a pricing model based on the data valuation can be done here. And then the payment concept and revenue streams, what needs to be considered for the payments and the revenue streams. And this canvas we have adopted to the strategies that we have been offering on the slide. You know, this overview of the of all of the strategies, and on the next slides you will see already pre-formulated canvases, of course still generic, for every strategy. For example, reduce cost. You remember, so this image here replicates the decision tree for classification of our monetization strategies, and we have pre-formulated canvases for all of these strategies, and I have them here. I will not go through all of them. Maybe two and we can stop at one, but we also have to look at the time. We want to allow for questions. For example, if we have data wrapping as a strategy, then the business case, this strategy enhances core products by adding supplementary data-related features, making offerings more appealing. By providing additional insights, companies improve customer experience and increase the perceived value of their services. So this canvas, this pre-filled canvas, helps you to work with these strategies. Of course, for your concrete business case, you still have to step a bit deeper. This is now the category data wrapping, but if you have a concrete data wrapping in mind, I don't know what it is, existing core product of your industry, and then you have a certain data set in mind to supplement this, then you can describe a more detailed business case here. And then, I don't go through all of this, but of course, customer benefits, customer gain enhanced experiences through valuable insights that complement core services, leading to better decision-making and increased satisfaction with the overall offering. So these pre-filled canvases will help you applying these strategies. I just flip through them. You see servitization, new products and services, data bartering. Well, bartering, it's an exchange. I give you data and I get your data, but there's no money involved. It's happening very often now, especially in the machinery sector. One of the famous Industry 4.0 cases was the two companies, ThyssenKrupp for machinery and Volkswagen as the machinery user, have been exchanging data that have put ThyssenKrupp at a better knowledge how their machinery is used, and Volkswagen was happy to receive some basic information about the machinery as a return value, and this is a bartering concept typically. Data platform providing, and this is just providing the platform, not more, but data platform refining means that you don't offer only the platform, but you have also an added service on top of this. Answer as a service, information as a service, data as a service, share for free, that's the last strategy. And you should know that you will be able to look at these canvases when you look at the presentation of today, because they are part of it. And to wrap up what we've seen today, we have made a walkthrough through the DATAMITE blueprint workflow, 3 steps combining assessment, valuation, strategy, design, the maturity model. At the beginning, you assess your own company's maturity. You see the gap that your whole company still needs to overcome to engage in data monetization. And usually this is the first step. You should not start this describing the first data business product before knowing actually where other deficits are, because then you try to throw something on the market where maybe some backend processes are not yet sufficiently developed. So this is why you start with a maturity model. Then the data valuation model helps you with the eventual pricing. Actually, it helps you quantifying a value, and then this value can be converted into pricing depending on market data. And then we have the strategy canvas that helps you to develop your own business models based on the strategies that are also deliverable of this DATAMITE project. And all in all, I think you're all set to start the data monetization business based on the outcome of our products. And this leaves me here. Thank you very much, and I'm open for questions. So Antonis, I leave it to you to moderate.
Yeah. Thank you very much for the presentation. It was very interesting and very complete, and it was very nice that you connected with the previous presentation. So if anyone has a question or any other remark, please let us know. Otherwise, we can close, and you can send us any question to this email that Udo is presenting, or to DATAMITE in general. And you can visit our website and also our Zenodo repositories and all the resources that we have uploaded online. I don't see any questions, so thanks to everybody, and see you soon. Have a nice day. Bye-bye. Thanks again.